Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Welcome to today's edition of Talking Politics. I am your host, Robert Press. I write for the Bronx Chronicle, as you can see here by my official New York City press card. I also contribute to the Co-op City News and Parkchester Times. The Parkchester Times, like this show, is part of Muslim Media. I also have a blog at 100%.blogspot.com and Facebook pages at 100% and What Is Going On in Your Community Board. The views expressed on this show are that of the host, any guest, or any commentator whose comments you may see scroll across the bottom of the screen, and not necessarily those of Muslim Media. Let's go to the weather. Today, we'll get into the high 40s. Saturday should be a washout with rain all day, going up to about 50. Sunday will be nice, but only getting up into the mid-40s, while Monday should bring in a new week of 50-degree weather. On to the political news. Russian President Vladimir Putin extended his role over Russia until 2030, using a heavily staged, managed presidential election with no real competition to portray overwhelming public support for his for his dominance and his invasion of Ukraine. Now, we have a New York presidential primary starting tomorrow, March 23rd, which runs through the early voting, that is, runs through March 31st, with the election Tuesday, April 2nd. Now, since both President Biden has won the Democratic nomination and former President Trump has already clinched the Republican nomination, New York's primary is just for show to add more delegates to each candidate who faces no real challenges. The election, by the way, will cost $25 million to run. The Biden administration, by the way, has issued one of the most significant climate regulations in the nation's history, a rule designated to ensure that the majority of new passenger cars and light trucks sold in the United States are all electric or hybrid by 2023. Now, as for Donald Trump, he faces a Monday deadline to post a $454 million bond in the civil fraud case against him in New York. Insiders say he might be weighing a little discussed option, doing nothing. The ex-president reportedly has been struggling to raise the cash for the bond, either from banks or wealthy friends, with his lawyers claiming that it is practically impossible for him to raise that amount of money. New York State Attorney General Letitia James says she doubts that Trump is truly unable to come up with the $454 million bond in his civil fraud case, arguing Wednesday that the ex-president could have pledged his real estate properties to the court, such as Trump Towers. The United States will be reining in its upcoming 250th birthday or semi-quincentennial, I got that right, with a massive international parade of tall ships sailing in New York Harbor on July 4th, 2026. The event, which will be a throwback to similar ship parades in 1976 and 2000, is expected to attract more than 6 million visitors to the region and be a symbol of America's preeminent place in the world. The so-called Sail Forth 250 flotilla will be made up of ships representing several nations and will be the largest ever. It will also mark a major time in the tri-state area, as it will come a day before the World Cup semifinal match on July 5th at MetLife Stadium. Despite its tongue-twister name, the U.S. semi-quincentennial is expected to draw even more visitors than the 1976 bicentennial, which drew an estimated 6 million spectators. As the ships proceed down the Hudson River, they will also be docked for a few days to allow visitors to come on board and meet the sailors from around the world. The Justice Department has joined 16 other states and district attorney generals filing a civil antitrust lawsuit against Apple for monopolizing or attempted monopolization of smartphone markets in violation of Section 2 of the Sherman Act. The complaint filed in U.S. District Court for New Jersey alleges that Apple illegally maintains a monopoly over smartphones by selectively imposing contractual restrictions and withholding critical access points from developers. Apple undermines apps, products, and services that would otherwise make users less reliant on the iPhone, promote interoperability, and lower costs for consumer and developers. Apple exercises monopoly power to extract more money from consumers, developers, content creators, artists, publishers, small business, and merchants, among others. Through this monopolization lawsuit, the Justice Department and state attorney generals are seeking relief to restore competition to these vital markets. What they claim Apple is doing, they are blocking innovative super apps that is, suppressing mobile cloud streaming services, excluding cross-performing messaging apps. They are diminishing the functionality of non-Apple smartwatches and limiting third-party wallets. Apple is a publicly traded company incorporated in California and headquartered in California. In fiscal year 2023, Apple generated an annual net revenue of $383 billion and net income of $97 billion. Apple's net income exceeds any other company in the Fortune 500 and the gross domestic products of more than 100 countries. By the way, Apple stock fell 4 points after this announcement yesterday. Governor Kathy Hochul is finally doing something to roll out more legal cannabis stores. She has called on the Commissioner of Office of General Services, Jeanette Moy, who will serve and lead an executive sponsor of the effort supported by the experienced government leader. We will take the first step in revamping New York's legal cannabis industry to ensure its long-term success, Governor Hochul said. I have full confidence in Commissioner Moy's ability to identify areas that need improvement, establish standards, processes across agencies, and jumpstart the next phase of the legal cannabis market. She will be there overseeing the Office of Cannabis Management for 30 days. And as part of the plan, these are some of the items: a top-down review of the organizational structure, procedures, processes, and systems with a focus on improving OCM licensing process times and application to opening timeframes for new cannabis retailers and businesses. Develop key performance metrics and an executive-level licensing dashboard to provide the executive chamber with a timely, accurate, and comprehensive picture of licensing activity for legal retailers. Identify and implement changes to policy, procedure, and regulations within the bounds of the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act to streamline the licensing process and simplify application and review for proposal licenses, and develop 3 to 6 month action plans with organizational change initiatives, milestones, and actions to continue.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
Okay, sorry about that. That was on my end. I hit a button, unfortunately, and disconnected myself. So let me continue with the Governor Hochul rollout on the new cannabis initiatives. So she's finally admitting that the rollout of cannabis law has not worked the way it should have, and does nothing to get rid of illegal cannabis sales. After 3 years since the rollout of the new cannabis law, there are just 85 legal stores, but more than 2,000 illegal ones. A couple of items about Mayor Adams. I see my guest is waiting in the wings. We'll get to you in a few minutes, Patrick. The city received a $61 million award to electrify city school buses, $29.5 million for 100 electric school buses and 100 chargers to be used citywide by the New York City School Bus Uniform Umbrella. JP Bus and Truck Repair will get $31.5 million for 80 electric school buses to serve several Brooklyn school districts. Additionally, Mayor Adams announced $15 million to build the first in-nation freight-focused electric truck and vehicle charging depot at the Hunts Point Food Distribution in the center that will eventually charge up to over 3,000 trucks and 4,000 passenger cars, hopefully eliminating 5.1 million tons of CO2. A couple of other quick items that Mayor Adams has ordered the Department of Environmental Protection to send out final notices to 2,400 delinquent water service accounts that owe the city a total of $102 million. He said they will send out water shutoff notices, and shutting off water service can have serious consequences for property owners. Also, the Health and Hospitals Corporation with Mayor Adams announced national recognized lifestyle medicine programs. You can find more about this on my blog. There are hospitals, there are 7 sites, which he did at Lincoln Hospital. They also include Jacoby Hospital here in the Bronx, Woodhull and Kings County Hospitals in Brooklyn, Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, and Gotham Health Vanderbilt on Staten Island. The program launched at Bellevue in 2019 with the support of then Brooklyn Borough President Adams, has already served hundreds of patients. It is to get you on a better lifestyle, eating better. And let me now welcome my guest, Patrick McManus, over there. Patrick, but let me just say one thing before I bring him on. If you saw last night's Community Board 11 leadership meeting, there was a lot discussed. They have a public hearing coming up on the Metro North stations for Morris Park and Van Ness on Monday, March 25th at the Residence Inn over at the Metro Center at 1776 Eastchester Road. It's meeting rooms A and B. This is about the now 7,500 proposed housing units with no concrete plans for overcrowded schools, parking, or any other infrastructure to be added. And now, Patrick, let me bring on Patrick McManus, my guest, the head of the Bronx Conservative Party. Now, Patrick, you live here in Morris Park. So what is your opinion on these Metro North stations coming in with all this new buildings that are coming up?
Well, this whole project was proposed to benefit the community and the members of the community. But many of us knew from the start that it was just a ploy to get the developers in, increase the housing, remove zoning restrictions. And at the end of the day, it is going to displace the current residents of the community and replace them with people who can pay higher rents and put more money in developers' pockets.
I put up on my blog 2 items from Housing Connect. One was on Creston Avenue, a new building in the Fordham section with a rent for a studio of $3,128. Today, I put up another site also in Prospect Avenue in Crotona with $2,900 and change for a studio and $3,711 for a 2-bedroom apartment. Mind you, these are very small apartments because the developers are trying to get as much apartments as they can in as little space they can. Any comments on, well, that's supposedly affordable housing. Do you think that's really affordable?
Yes, as I replied in some of the threads on your post, Bob. I drove through Crotona Avenue and Creston Avenue in that area just yesterday, collecting petition signatures. And it's preposterous to claim that $3,100 a month is affordable housing for those in that community now. Again, this whole process was designed to gentrify the area, to drive out the current residents. It does nothing for low-income individuals. And quite honestly, the majority of that community are very hardworking people, but they work at low-skilled jobs, which in turn do not pay very well. So the developers see an opportunity. If the city keeps allowing them to create this kind of housing, they will drive these people out. On the thread, I pointed to Long Island City and downtown Brooklyn. Those projects are now 20 years old. They were originally designed to provide affordable housing for those in the area. I ask, who can afford to live in Long Island City or downtown Brooklyn? I am upper middle class, and I can't afford to live in those areas.
We have 4 new buildings that went up down below Bruckner Boulevard in the Piano District, as it's called, by Alexander Avenue, which are maybe less than 1/3 or even 1/4 occupied because the rents are too high. So, it's something that our elected officials need to look at. Are we going to build buildings that are going to be empty? There's a proposal for a 2,083 unit building on Bronxdale Avenue by the train station. Who knows what the rents will be there? And are we going to get the city paying the rents for the developers in subsidies like the chefs and Section 8? Is that what we're going to have in there, rather than people who are hardworking people who want to go into the city? But now, let me ask you one more question before we get into politics. Well, actually, it is politics.
Everything is politics.
The claim of a woman that 30 years ago, Mayor Adams, then transit officer Eric Adams, she went to him for help, she claims, and he was accosting her, asking her to do certain things, which I won't mention here on this show, and she refused, and he just told her, basically, he stopped at the Chambers Street station, told her to get out. Do you believe the accusations of this woman? And now we see that one of his aides that was caught or went into a homeless shelter demanding to see the process, saying that he's the mayoral aide, and now he's being accused by a police sergeant who worked under him in one of the mayor's offices, that she had she's claiming sexual advantages by this man. Is it what the Adams administration is doing? Are we going back to that type of thing where women who wanted to get ahead had to do certain things that were unspeakable? I mean, you want to comment on this at all?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. This has been, any woman, it's atrocious for any woman to be sexually accosted in any way. But the issue here, it goes back to Brett Kavanaugh when he was put up. Once they started giving credence to women 30 years later and not really doing due diligence investigation and prosecuting, and now it was Donald Trump, a Pandora's box has been opened for these issues that anybody, I won't even say woman, any individual now, because what has been done to Brett Kavanaugh and to Donald Trump, it now opens the box for these accusations with no recollection. Brett Kavanaugh's accuser couldn't remember what year, yet it was still taken credible, no investigation. She could not recall any of the facts. Donald Trump faced a similar situation, and now Donald Trump has been, I can't say convicted, it wasn't a crime, but held civilly liable for accusations that are so obscure and unprovable that it has opened the box now. Now they're coming out. We have a woman coming out about 30 years ago about Mayor Adams. Where are we going to draw the line on these things? I'm not saying take women's rights away, but there has to be some sanity when somebody comes forward with an accusation against any individual.
Well, the thing is, as one of our commenters said, that the Pandora's box opened with Monica Lewinsky or Anita Hill. But the thing is, back then, there was no smartphones. There was nothing to, really click on to say that, you could record what's going on. Nowadays, we have the smartphones where people can just click on their phone and hit record and have it in their pocket. And, while they're going on, record what's going on. So it's just
the difference.
one word against the other.
Mention one thing: the Monica Lewinsky, that happened in real time. That the incidents were ongoing and they were very recent when these accusations were made. These new cases that are coming out are decades old accusations with no evidence to back them up. It's not just the fact of the smartphones. what I see the difference in the Monica Lewinsky situation. It was more in real time.
Do you think it might be a smear job on Mayor Adams by certain people to get him out of office?
It is quite possible, as evidence what is going on with Donald Trump. The justice system is being used as a weapon, and it's being targeted against certain individuals. And you have to question, Mayor Adams started questioning the Biden administration, quite bluntly. And once he started questioning them, his problems began.
Okay, we have both a live audience that's watching us right now as we're live, and we have a YouTube audience that watches us later on. Sometimes, like one of my viewers, Kay Cardona, watches me on Sunday. But tonight you have an event on Friday night, March 22nd. It's at the Sands. Would you like to discuss that event so anybody watching us live could attend tonight? And tell us what it's all about, because I understand it's an introduction of your candidates for office, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, absolutely. We're having a meeting. The Conservative Party in the Bronx, we've been doing a lot of outreach. We're trying to have a meeting every month in a different area of the Bronx, making the party more accessible to more people. This month's meeting will be at the Sands on 815 Allerton Avenue at 7 p.m. tonight. Refreshments are going to be served. It's an ongoing effort to get more people involved in politics. As part of the meeting, we're having several of our candidates from within that area, as well as other areas of the Bronx, whom we're putting forward this November for the November elections. We've been collaborating along with the Republican Party to fill the slate. For far too long, especially here in the Bronx, the incumbent Democratic candidates have not been challenged. It's becoming their birthright to maintain their offices, basically. And we really need to change that. Many people are upset with all the parties and politics in general. They feel their voice isn't heard. I'm trying to put out the message: join the Conservative Party, come join us, and your voice will be heard. Tonight we have speakers. Tina Forte will be speaking. Christopher Wright is scheduled to speak.
What offices are they running for?
Tina Forte is the 14th Congressional. Chris Wright is attempting to run for the 16th Congressional. We'll have Gonzalo Duran, who's running for the 15th Congressional. We will have Juan De La Cruz running in the 82nd Assembly. Grace Morera in the 80th Assembly. Kevin Pazmino in the 81st. And I'm sorry, I may have forgotten some others who will be there tonight. But any candidate that wants to show up, we want to give you a voice. What we're doing, we're collaborating with the Republican Party. Last November, the Conservative Party and the Republican Party together made history in Bronx politics by electing
Christy Maramato to the 13th Council District, of which the Conservative Party was the difference. They pushed the Republican candidate, Maramato, over, in essence. So you guys, the Conservative Party, made the difference in that election, electing a Republican, the first Republican in, 50 years to the city council, I believe, or for a woman Republican to the city council. You're going to be helping Tina Forte and a lot of others. I wish, though, when you mentioned the 82nd Assembly District, I only wish that George Haverack was running for that position, because he has a lot of influence in the 82nd Assembly District, and George could have been a real force in that district.
I agree with you, Bob. This is one of the issues as a party chair that I face every election cycle. Everybody is fed up in our communities with what is going on, but very few are willing to stand up and be a candidate and have their voice heard. I hear it all the time. How come you didn't run anybody against so-and-so? And how come you had a blank line? I need candidates in order to put them on the ballot. If candidates don't come to the parties to run for office, there is nothing that the party leaders can do. We need candidates, and we need people in the community willing to stand up and willing to have their voice heard and willing to take a chance.
No, because here in the 80th Assembly District, we have a relatively new Assemblyman, John Cicaro Jr., who was Chief of Staff to Rafael Salamanca for many years, so he knows politics. But this is actually the first time that he has to go out and petition, because last time there was a little juggling of the lines, and people were just placed in there by the Bronx Democratic Party, or people who withdrew and then they were submitted. For instance, we saw that Natalia Fernandez got in as the 34th state senator who never petitioned for that office, but because the person who was listed withdrew and put her in, she was put in, and thus that created a vacancy in the 80th Assembly District, which John Cicaro Jr. was put in. So this is the first year that both of those people have to really petition for their positions. John also has two brand new district leader candidates and two brand new state committee candidates also on his petition. So there's been a lot of turnover in the Bronx here in the East Bronx on the Democratic Party.
Yes, absolutely. Well, to your points about candidates being installed on the ballot, I think at this point we all know that our entire political system is broken, not only here in New York State, but nationally. And the people need to fix that. And the way we're going to fix it is by getting common sense candidates into office and to put people that have the common sense into positions where they can actually change things. With the supermajority that the Democrats hold in Albany, there's nothing we can do to change our broken political system, because they use the damage in the system to their advantage, and they continue to use it to maintain power.
I know that Jeffrey Dinowitz and Mike in the 81st Assembly District and Michael Benedetto in the 82nd are the last two remaining old timers from the Bronx. And Jeffrey Dinowitz, every year his winning percentage goes down. He's down into the mid 60s now, I believe. And Mike Benedetto last time won with 59% over Jonathan Soto, who was running against him again on the Democratic line. And had Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman who was given Co-op City in the last redistricting, now she has lost it, and it's back in Jamal Bowman's hands. I felt that if she would have kept Co-op City, that Assemblyman Benedetto might have lost. Now that Congressman Bowman has it, I can almost assure that Assemblyman Benedetto will be reelected.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of trickle down votes, and that was a very interesting move, that redistricting of Co-op City. My personal opinion is that they saw a weakness for Bowman because he's being primaried by George Latimer, who's very strong in Westchester. And I think the Co-op City was brought into the district to counteract the strength of George Latimer. I don't think it's going to hurt AOC as much as it helped Jamal Bowman.
Well, let me just say one thing. If we look at the West Bronx, we see that the Norwood Bedford Park area was broken apart with the state Senate and Assembly districts. They were moved around. And then all of a sudden, developers came in and built these big buildings. We now see that happening here in the East Bronx with the gerrymandering of the districts. And now developers are coming in and building big buildings. We only know a few things about them. And as far as Van Ness goes, I could tell you in Riverdale, there was a 14-story building built on one street. Then all of a sudden, another 14-story building built. And in front on Riverdale Avenue, a 17-story building has been built because they are not out of context. With new rules, the Stag building, that 17 stories, was allowed to be built that height because they were given extra height because they're using a 25% affordable housing. He could have gone 3 extra stories if he put a community facility there. So that building could have gone 20 stories. With the city of Yes coming in, they're asking for an additional 20% to height the new buildings, which would be for affordable housing. The question about this affordable housing is they're not explaining affordable housing. They're saying for 30 years it'll be affordable. But how much each year or of the year, depending on the leases are only 1 or 2 years, will the increase be? We know in rent stabilization and rent control that that's set by the Rent Guidelines Board. Will increases for these so-called affordable houses be sent by the Rent Guidelines Board or not? We get no answers from the City Planning Commission.
Right. No, absolutely. The whole process, the AMI process, these numbers are ridiculous.
Well, it goes up into the wealthier parts of Westchester County. That's
right.
Including the Bronx.
It's all accounted, and that whole thing is ridiculous. But to your earlier point, the reason I believe this is spreading to the east side, as you stated, the Democratic Party, the old guard, is just about gone. Benedetto and they're the last holdouts of the old guard of the Democratic Party. If you look around, a good majority, I'd say a majority of our assembly people and our state senators that represent this area are very embedded in the development culture, and they have family ties, business ties, and everything to the development community.
Let me just say one thing, Patrick. Tonight is there's a lot of things going on tonight at 6 p.m. There's an event that Bally's Links, the former Trump Links, that Bally's wants to build a casino and a hotel. That is all parkland, so the state legislature would have to vote to alienate the parkland for those buildings. But we see that Senator Fernandez will be there and Assemblyman Benedetto. Both are members of the Bronx Democratic Party. City Councilwoman Maramato has come out against that casino. But I'm told that there are lobbyists from the Bronx Democratic Party who are working with Bally's to get that casino built.
Yes, no, they are openly working together. Again, they're trying to sell it to the community as a positive. I've been commenting on a few threads earlier today in regards, and I say, go to Atlantic City. Atlantic City is 50 years old now. Walk 2 blocks off the boardwalk at night and see if you make it to the corner. So what was thrown back at me was, well, look at Las Vegas. And I've been to Las Vegas, and I walked off the Strip. It's not a very nice place. I walked past the Stratosphere, and once you pass the Stratosphere, which is the end of the Strip, it was literally a desolate wasteland. There were knocked down buildings, empty lots for miles, and there was just nothing. A casino brings nothing to the surrounding community. It makes money for the casino owners. It makes minimum wage jobs for a small number of people. But other than that, it does nothing for the surrounding communities. And that's why I am against Bally's. I personally like to go to casinos. I've been to Baltimore MGM International Harbor. Again, you can't walk outside of the perimeter of the casinos without taking your life into your hands.
Right. And in Nevada, prostitution is legal. And there's talk that many of the legislature, the Democrats, want to legalize prostitution here in New York City, or New York State, I should say. So, I mean, if you get the casino and the hotel, you're going to bring that with it too.
Yes.
All right, let me thank you for coming on the show. We're running up a little late. I see one of your candidates is asking, are Republicans against the casino? And yes, Gonzalo, I have said that the local councilwoman is against it. And I want to thank Patrick McManus for coming on. He has an event tonight. You want to just mention that event again tonight, Patrick?
Yes, once again, 7 p.m. tonight, the Sands, 815 Allerton Avenue. Come out, meet your candidates, and you'll have an opportunity to be heard.
I hope to see you there tonight because I'm very interested in meeting Ms. Forte. I want to invite her onto the show. So let me thank you for coming on. Thank my viewers for watching. and say, I'll see you next week here on Talking Politics. And thank you once again, and goodbye.
Thank you, Bob, for having me on.
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination,